Right? A woman and her daughter have come to me to commission a dress. Beautiful. This will be perfect for the annual ball. I compliment my client's choice with a smile and make a note of the fabrics for the dress. Silver chiffon over a satin navy ball gown. My fingers are already itching to get started. I'll need you to make another appointment for a fitting once I've got the basic design sewn up, and from there I can start adding the embellishments and finishing touches, I add. The woman and her daughter, a senior at Kleiner Academy, thank me before leaving the boutique. Ever since the play, I've been fully booked. Business has never been better. It's been keeping me busy, and I'm glad for that. This way I barely have time to think about the argument with Gray and how he still hasn't spoken to me. I only wish I were busy enough that I didn't think about him at all. Lost in thought, I finish up my notes and look over my appointments for tomorrow. With a smile, I see that I'm completely booked for the day once again. I've already started on half a dozen dresses for the same ball and a couple of suits. If things continue at this rate, I might have to look into hiring an assistant. The bell above the door jingles, and though it's almost closing time, I turn with a smile to greet another customer. Oh, it's just Sarah. Working hard or hardly working, huh? Sarah smirks as she teases me. I shake my head at her affectionately, a grin still curving my lips. I'll have you know that ever since the Academy play, I've been fully booked. I rest my hands on my hips and raise an eyebrow at her. So I'd say I'm working extremely hard. Well, good for you, Sarah beams at me, coming over to the counter. I haven't heard much from you since then. I thought you might have gone back to your hermit lifestyle, she teases. I was never a hermit, I protest. If you say so, she grins at me and I poke my tongue out at her in return. Real mature, I know. What are you doing here anyway? I ask her. I'm meeting Jed, she says as she inspects her fingernails absently. We're going out to a movie. I smile at her. Her and Jed seem to really be getting serious. I've never seen Sarah like this with anyone before. But why exactly here? I stress. If Sarah and Jed are going on a date, meeting up at my boutique seems like a strange way to get together. Well, I was thinking you and Gray could come with us, she adds as she looks up at me. I bite down on my bottom lip awkwardly. I don't think Gray will, but I'd love to come. You don't think I'll be a third wheel? It's not like I have any other plans, and it might be nice to get to know Jed better. He is dating my best friend after all. No way, it'll be fun, Sarah assures me. We're gonna see the new comedy. It looks hilarious. That's good. I definitely need a laugh after all this work, I say with a sigh. Barely a second passes before the front door opens again. I stand up straight and turn to greet Jed. Never mind, it's only Jed. Hello, he greets us awkwardly as he joins the two of us at the counter. Sarah watches him expectantly, but says nothing. What? He asks when he finally cracks under her stare. She huffs as she pushes herself up from the stool and tiptoes up to kiss him quickly. His face goes a few shades darker, and I grin a little. I guess Jed isn't the biggest fan of PDA. Anyway, Valkii, how are you? He asks with a small smile after Sarah has sat down again. I'm great, thanks. And you? Can't complain, especially not with this one around. He ruffles Sarah's hair playfully and she pouts up at him. After successfully fending him off, she says, Valkyie's coming to the cinema with us, okay? Jed looks at me, his face brightening all of a sudden. Oh, that's perfect. I asked Gray to come too. He's meeting us there. My stomach drops in an instant, a small bolt of panic running through me. Oh, you know what? I think I'll just stay in. I've got a big day tomorrow, I say, and Sarah gives me an inquisitive look. All right, what's going on? Nothing, I lie. I attempt to plaster a smile on my face, but she gives me a look that tells me she sees straight through it. My shoulders slump as I sigh. I've had enough of keeping this all to myself. It won't hurt for them to know what's going on between us. Maybe they can help somehow. Gray and I had an argument, I admit, blowing out a long breath. I don't bother telling them about my conversation with Ivan, one dilemma at a time. About? Sarah asks, quirking her head to the side. We almost kissed a couple of weeks ago and I got cold feet. He's probably mad about that. Sarah's eyes light up, but when Jed makes a small sound, we both turn to look at him. Doesn't sound like something he'd get mad about, he says with a shake of his head. Well, you must know something, Sarah prods him in the arm. He's your best friend. I don't know anything, I swear. He holds up his hands in front of himself innocently. Well, what do you think I should do? I ask him, hoping he might have an answer. Jed thinks for a second before he shrugs his shoulders casually. You could try talking to him again. He might have cooled off by now, he says. With the look on my face, which must be more distraught than I had meant for it to be, he gives me a comforting smile. Don't worry, Valkii. I don't think Gray could stay mad at you if he tried, he assures me with a lopsided grin. What's that supposed to mean? Sarah asks, wrinkling her nose at him. Wouldn't you like to know, Pipsqueak? Jed teases her, and she punches him playfully in the arm. At least come see the movie with us, Sarah insists. You might get the chance to talk to him there, and if not, you already said you could do with a laugh anyway. I guess when she puts it that way, there's no reason for me to refuse. Oh my god, James. Oh my god, Kane. Oh my god. Old Avatar. When we arrive at the cinema, Gray is already waiting inside. My stomach gets all bunched up into knots when I see his handsome face. I attempt to smile, but I don't get much from him in return. Great, still ignoring, I see. Let's get some snacks, Sarah says right as I hear Jed asking Gray how he's doing. I wish I could hang back and hear the answer to that, but Sarah isn't giving me the option. We head to the candy bar and the smell of fresh popcorn, hot dogs and chocolate hits me all at once. I glance over the options. I don't really feel hungry, but it might be nice to grab a snack. Just a small sweet popcorn, please, I tell the cashier. Then I decide I'll get something for Gray too. Maybe it'll help to sweeten him up a bit. Actually, give me a salty one as well. I pay for the tubs of popcorn and wait for Sarah to finish ordering her food. Then we join Jed and Gray again. Here, choose, I say, offering both buckets to Gray. There's a slight pause, and a thin blonde eyebrow slowly rises to match his expression. He's hesitating. I give him a wry smile, hoping he'll take the peace offering. Then he leans over and grabs the salty popcorn bucket from my hands. Salty, huh? I say. I guess you're not into sweet? When the mood strikes, I'll nibble on something sweet, he says in this suggestive tone. But for now, salt it is. I feel like he's making some sort of comment about us and our situation at the moment. I keep quiet instead. The four of us head into the cinema and find our seats. I sit between Sarah and Gray, with Jed on Sarah's other side. My tub of popcorn sits on my lap, the smell of sweet popcorn floating up into my nostrils. I don't look at Gray, but I feel his presence like a weight on my chest. The air between us is thick with tension, and I wish I could just talk to him without interrupting the whole movie. The film finally starts, and when the theatre darkens completely, I sink down further into my seat and try to enjoy myself. But my mind keeps wandering over to Gray. That comment about me freezing up, I guess he's right. I have kept him at a distance because I'm the Valkyrie. We've got a lot of unintended history together, and while some relationships may be better off with some skeletons left in the closet, I don't think that applies to our tangled pasts. I hurt him, badly. He has to know before things between us get any more complicated. I have to find the right time to tell him. I breathe out a long sigh, satisfied with this conclusion. Now let's just hope it's not too much easier said than done. Eventually, I start to relax a little more, even starting to giggle at the film a little. Sarah howls with laughter beside me, and that makes me laugh even more. I can't stop myself from sneaking a glance at Gray, wondering if he's having any fun at all. I turn to have my eyes meet his, finding him already looking at me. His expression is indecipherable. Was he thinking about me too? Probably. The lights suddenly come on, signaling a short break in the middle of the movie. What? Where do they do that? They never do a break in the movie. Here. That's crazy. Like, if you want to pee, you're gonna miss some of the movie. Quick bathroom break, and then more snacks, Sarah declares as she stands and shuffles past me. How much more can you eat? I tease her. She simply winks at me before disappearing down the aisle. Gray gets up and leaves too, leaving me alone with Jed, who... Wait a second, is he asleep? I giggle quietly to myself. I hope he doesn't snore. I decide I should probably use the bathroom now rather than regret it later. Entering the bathroom... is this a gender-neutral bathroom? Entering the bathroom, I come face to face with Gray. Wait, what? He looks towards the door right as he puts his hands under the stream of water from the tap, and I realize I've stepped into the wrong bathroom. Okay. His eyebrows shoot up in surprise, and he pulls back, splashing water from the tap all over the front of his pants. Shit, he curses out loud as he looks down at himself in horror. A laugh escapes me before I slap a hand over my mouth to stop it, and Gray gives me a dry look. What are you doing in here? Look what you've done, he says in frustration at the stain. Quickly, he grabs a couple of paper towels to try and dry himself off. You think that's my fault? I say, still laughing. You should have told one of the adults earlier that you were about to soil yourself. Very funny, he drawls, though I see the corner of his lips twitching. Alright, hilarity aside, you probably shouldn't go out there walking around like that, I giggle. You think? Gray says, and this time he's definitely holding back his laughter. Ugh, this isn't working. He throws the paper towels in the trash and sighs. I look between us. I didn't bring a jacket, and Gray is only wearing a shirt. Looking around the room, I search for another option. Is there one of those hand dryer thingies that blow air? You can just, like, take his pants off and put it under there. Hey, you could always blow me to dry me off, he says with a wink. Okay, well, you know, I said it differently, I suppose. Might take a while, but what other option do we have? I know he's making a joke, but when I see the hand dryers on the opposite wall, an idea suddenly hits me. Quick, go into that stall and take off your pants, I order, earning another eyebrow raise in return. What? Are you serious? You know I was only making a joke, right? He asks, his face a mixture of hope and confusion. You want me to blow you, don't you? I say seductively, turning his joke right back around on him. I can't tell if you're being serious or not. Gray narrows his eyes at me suspiciously. It's messing with my head. I'm being totally serious. I step towards him slowly. I need you to take off your pants. We don't have much time, he says, testing the waters. How long do you think it'll take? I ask innocently. How long do you think it'll take? He shoots back at me. To dry your pants with the hand dryer? About 2 minutes, I say finally, my tone laced with amusement. That's so funny. Gray looks between me and the hand dryers, finally realizing that what I meant all along. Oh. He heads into the nearest stall, and when he hangs his pants over the top of the stall, I grab them and head towards the hand dryer, holding them beneath the warm air. It takes a few minutes to work, but before long the wet patch on the front of his pants is starting to dry. Another man enters the bathroom and stares at me in confusion. I can't help but give him a wry smile. This wouldn't be an issue if buildings just had unisex bathrooms. Yeah, okay, but that would be an issue in of itself. If they take away the male and female bathroom and just opt for one singular unisex bathroom, that's bad. You can't force them to share the same bathroom. That would be wrong. Awkwardly, I try my best to ignore anyone inside the bathroom. When the pants are finally dry, I toss his pants back over to him. Here, it's dry, I say. There's some muffled sounds coming from the stall before it opens, and out walks Gray, pants dry and all. Technically, when our friends asked what took us so long, you could tell them you were busy blowing me. I snort out loud. I'd love to see Sarah's reaction if I did that. So we cool now? The lights are already dimmed by the time we take our seats again, and the movie has started playing. What were you two doing that took you so long? Sarah whispers at me as she nudges my arm. Nothing, I whisper back in return, though the smile on my face is far from innocent. I catch Gray's eyes again, and this time he smiles and shakes his head at me in amusement. The tension between us has definitely melted somewhat, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. I hope it lasts. I look over at Sarah and Jed, at the way they're holding hands, how easily they laugh with each other. As far as I know, Sarah hasn't told him she was part of the gang that rivaled his in high school, and the two of them seem to be getting along just fine. It seems to me that even if Jed knew, he likes Sarah too much to care about it. But it's different for them. Neither of them was the leader of their gang like Gray and I were, and neither of them did anything as horrible as getting the other one expelled from school. I drum my fingers anxiously against the armrest between Sarah and me. When I tell Gray, will he hate me? I suppose he'll have good reason to. First, for what I did, and second, for letting him get so close to me unknowingly. A pit forms in my stomach as I imagine his reaction, the pain and anger he'll surely feel. Even so, I have to be honest with him. He deserves to know the truth and to decide for himself how he feels about me afterwards. The movie finally ends and we exit the cinema with Sarah reenacting her favourite parts and making us laugh. We step outside into the cool night air, the crowd around us quickly dispersing. I pull my jacket tighter around myself to ward off the bite of the cold wind. Wondering what the time is, I dig into my handbag for my phone. I should probably get home before it gets too late, but I still want to try and talk to Gray again before I do. I frown, digging deeper into my bag. She fucking loses shit like crazy. I swear my phone was in here. In a panic, I open my bag in front of me and search desperately through the contents. Everything okay? Sarah asks, stepping up beside me. Yeah, I trail off. Maybe it fell out of my bag in the theatre? I'll be right back, I say quickly, hurrying back into the building. She doesn't have anything incriminating on there, right? Oh, she has a password on anyway. I tell the usher I've lost my phone and he lets me back into the empty theatre without a problem, telling me I've got a few minutes before they start cleaning it for the next session. Rushing down the aisle, I look for my seat. Shit, which one was it again? I go row by row, glancing over the seats to see if my phone is sitting on any of them, but I don't have any luck. The lighting is terrible in here, and I was so distracted while we were watching the movie that I didn't pay any attention to how far back we were sitting. When I reach the final row, I growl beneath my breath, turning with a frustrated stomp. Then I startle when I notice I'm not alone. Lose something? I find Gray pacing the aisle towards me, his hands in his pockets and his eyebrows raised. Yeah, I think my phone might have fallen out of my bag when I can't remember what seat I was sitting in, I confess, feeling like a forgetful idiot. He nods slowly and then points to a row near the middle. It was this one. Should I call you? You can try, but I put it on silent for the movie, I say with a sigh. Gray takes out his own phone and dials mine. With Gray's help, I find the seat I was sitting in, but to my annoyance, my phone isn't there. Ducking down, I search the ground around the area. The floor is littered with popcorn and candy wrappers and something sticky and gross that touches my hand. I feel rather silly crawling around on my hands and knees, but I'm desperate to find my phone. It feels weird to be so dependent on something so small, but I honestly don't know how I'd live without it. And then finally I see it. A couple of seats over, my phone lays on the floor, the screen lighting up the bottom of the chair. I reach out for it and glance at the screen, seeing Gray's name flashing across it. How many times had I hoped to see him calling, and now that he is, it's only to help me find the phone that I stupidly lost. Thanks, I say as I straighten up and brush myself off, watching Gray tuck his phone back into his pocket. No problem, he says. After turning the sound back on, I stash my own phone in the pocket of my coat, keeping it close this time. There are a couple of awkward seconds that pass before I speak again. Can we talk? I ask finally. Yeah, okay. I let out a sigh of relief, but now that he said yes, I don't really know what to say. All I know is that I don't want it to turn into another argument. I hate fighting with you, I say with a sigh. I just want us to be friends again. I don't know, he says quietly as he looks towards the darkened screen, all amusement from earlier disappearing. I'm not sure I can. My heart drops in my chest. He doesn't mean that. He can't mean that. That really sucks, Gray. The last thing I want is to lose you. Is it? Because you sure don't act like it, he scoffs, flipping his switch in an instant. My phone rings in my pocket, vibrating against my side. I ignore it, raising my hands in front of me. I'm trying to do what I think is best, truly, and I appreciate how patient you've been with me, I plead. So what happened the other night is how you repay the favor, he drawls, and I shiver at the coldness in his voice. When you rejected me. I wanted you to kiss me, I confirm, finding it easier to talk about my attraction towards him. My heart beats like a hammer in my chest, and I feel abnormally hot all of a sudden. But I know I couldn't let you. And why is that? Gray asks, his eyes going dark. Because you know why, I say with a slump of my shoulders, recalling our conversation about how I was holding our relationship back. My phone goes off in my pocket once again, but I don't have time to worry about it. Gray shakes his head, his words coming out in a growl when he speaks. I want to hear you say it. Because I can't kiss you when I'm keeping secrets from you, I exclaim. I take in a breath to compose myself. I didn't want this to turn into an argument, but that's exactly where it's headed. His jaw clenches tight before he lets out a tired sigh. I just wish you could have more trust in me, Valkii. I know you're scared of the repercussions, but I can handle the truth. Desperately wanting to believe him, I force myself to lock eyes with Gray. I feel the full weight of his emotions. I can see how much he cares. I have to have faith. She's gonna go to tell him, but then the phone's gonna ring again. She's gonna be like, God damn it, I've got to take this, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. I have to have faith. I swallow the rising lump in my throat, willing myself to have courage. You're sure I can trust you? I ask cautiously. He nods, not looking away for a second, and takes a step closer to me. I've proven you can rely on me time and time again. I'm here helping you now, aren't I? If I recall correctly, this isn't the first time you've lost it, and I've been the one to help you find it again. Wait, what did he say? Oh no, he knows! Oh no, he knows! For a moment I can't breathe. I feel like the wind has been knocked out of me. It's not possible. He can't know about me being the former leader of the Academy gang. We wouldn't be standing here like this if he did. My phone starts ringing again. What? Shit, sorry. I pull my phone from my pocket, frustrated by its incessant ringing. I glare at my phone screen, about to message whoever is trying to get a hold of me that I'll call them later, when the single word that flashes across my screen, the screen seizes my heart in my chest. Emergency. My mind empties, panic streaking through me as all kinds of horrible scenarios run through my head at that one word. I'm sorry, I think Nicky's in trouble, I try to explain as I press his number and hold my phone to my ear. He answers almost instantly, though I can barely hear his voice over the commotion in the background. Nicky, what's going on? I ask in a rush, with Gray looking on in concern. The bar, the Valkyrie. Please help. It's bad this time. It's really bad. There's the sound of a bottle smashing and then a series of furious shouts. I know exactly which bar he's talking about. It's the one we met in and long-time Academy territory. I can't. I'm really sorry, I say, even though my body is roaring at me to go. Please, Valkii, we don't have anyone else, Nicky begs, sounding so desperate I can barely stand it. I sigh into the receiver, my shoulders slumping in defeat. Okay, fine. I'm on my way. To ending the call, I give Gray an apologetic look. I have to go. Nicky needs my help, I say quickly, starting to move past him. He puts a hand on my arm to stop me. What's going on? He asks. Though my instincts are to avoid his question, I'm starting to get the feeling that he knows more about me than I thought. It's time to shed a little light on the situation. Nicky is in trouble. Some former Riverside High gang members are still active and they're hassling some Kleiner Academy grads at Wasted, I explain. Gray raises an eyebrow. And he's calling you for help? Why? I shake my head in dismissal. It's a long story. I don't have time to get into it now. Things sound bad. I hesitate. If I say anything more, there's a good chance he'll discover who I was in the past, if he does not know already. But unfortunately, I think I've run out of time for a private, lengthy conversation. Right now, my gang needs me, and the Phantom tagging along could make a difference between victory or defeat. Look, Gray, if you want to come with me and see what I've been keeping secret from you, I won't stop you. It's time you knew the truth. I can practically see the gears turning in his head as he eyes me curiously. Count me in, he says, turning towards the exit. Together, we exit the theatre in a hurry. Let's go! The Valkyrie! We rush out of the cinema and find Sarah and Jed still waiting for us. I'm sensing it was a bad idea to leave the two of you alone, Sarah says after seeing the look on my face. I shake my head at her. It's Nikki and the Academy gang. They're in trouble. I'm going to help them. I see her give Jed a sidelong glance, her eyes widening as she looks at me again. Are you sure you want to do this? She asks. What choice do I have? She nods, and I know she understands some of how I feel, but she doesn't know the whole story. By doing this, I'm not just risking exposing my entire identity to Grey, I also have Ivan to contend with. Grey finding out I'm the former leader of the Academy gang is one thing, but if Ivan tells him it was me who got him arrested the night of the fight, he'll never speak to me again. Okay, I'm with you, Sarah says, smiling weakly. The four of us jump in a taxi, giving Jed a quick rundown on the situation as we head across town to the bar. When we finally step out of the cab, we find ourselves right in the middle of the scene. Riversiders and Academy members are strewn down the street, facing off against each other. A quick head count tells me that my old gang are outnumbered 2-1. If the cops haven't shown up yet, they'll most definitely be on the way. Glass litters the pavement, people are screaming and shouting and fighting. This can't go on for much longer. I scan the chaos for Nikki, but when I whip my head to the side, I see he's found me first. The Valkyrie, he's... Bruh, call me by my name, he says out loud as he staggers over, making my stomach turn. Thank God you came. Don't look at me. Right, we're gonna go. We're going. The Valkyrie. My old nickname rings through my ears, turning my stomach to lead. I'm uncomfortably aware of Grey beside me, knowing he would have heard what Nikki said, and I dread to wonder what he's thinking right now. Fortunately, I don't have any time to linger on it or to look at Grey's reaction before Nikki is speaking again. We were ambushed, he says between short gasps, struggling to catch his breath. His lip is busted and the front of his shirt has a hole torn in the front of it. The Riversiders threatened the owner of the bar. They were waiting for us when we arrived, Nikki explains. Those bastards, Sarah hisses over the noise surrounding us, her eyes fierce. Glancing up and down the street at the sheer number of Riversiders, I swallow around the lump forming in my throat. I can only imagine the kind of welcome that was waiting for them. When my eyes meet Nikki's again, I see nothing on his face but desperation and defeat, and I know what he's about to say before the words have even left his mouth. We've got to take our territory back, the Valkyrie. We can't just let them take it. I let out a low growl and kick at a broken bottle on the ground, just a fraction of the damage our rivals have done to our territory. This time I don't falter, not like before. It's one thing to listen to Nikki telling me about the trouble the Riversiders have caused, but seeing it firsthand stokes an old flame within me. Let's put an end to this. I clench my hands into fists at my side, giving Nikki a sharp nod. His expression changes, knowing that this time I'll be standing beside him, and a glimmer of hope sparks in his eyes. Without looking back at the others, I follow my old friend into the street, and we launch ourselves headfirst into the fight. The place is in total chaos, and the Academy's on the losing side of the battle. Ah! I cry out suddenly, avoiding a bottle hurling through the air. The object smashes on the sidewalk behind me. When I sweep the area, searching for the source of the bottle, I'm met with a girl who's glaring at me a few paces away, a Riversider who looks a few years younger than I am. Looking for a fight, huh? She boasts. She comes at me fast, and I only manage to dodge her right hook at the last second, the edge of her fist grazing my chin. I launch back at her with a swift kick that knocks her to the ground. A guy comes to her aid within seconds. He's holding the broken leg from a bar stool in both of his meaty hands. You'll wish you hadn't done that, the man says with a menacing grin, looking as though he's having the time of his life. We'll see about that, I shoot back at him. I glare between them and the makeshift weapon distastefully. I guess we're not just little kids anymore who only use their fists. I bring my guard up to protect myself right before the two Riversiders launch themselves at me. Then I duck abruptly, right as the guy barrels straight into my crouching body and loses his balance, falling head over heels and splintering his weapon on the pavement when he goes down in a tangle of limbs. In a split second, I'm on my feet, blocking against the woman's attack. I misjudge my positioning slightly, and her punch clips me across the jaw, making my head reel. She's definitely stronger than I've anticipated, and know now that another punch like that could knock me out cold. I have to be careful. I'll be of no use to anyone if she manages to take me down. The one advantage I have on my side is speed, so that's exactly what I'm going to use. Is that all you've got? I taunt her, hoping her anger will make her sloppy. It works like a charm, and when she attacks me next, I can see she's losing her form. I meet her head on, and I'm surprised at first to find I haven't completely forgotten my old kickboxing training. My muscles, while stiffer than they were, still remember the old routines. But the woman is just as good, and while I haven't fought anyone in a long, long time, she seems to be in her prime. I'm almost at the end of my rope, panting and out of breath when I see my lucky break. For just a moment, she leaves her abdomen unguarded, and that's where I strike. Oof! landing a solid punch to her gut has her wheezing and doubling over in pain. From there, it takes only a well-placed punch to the nose and she's on the ground, blood spurting between her fingers as she cups her face and howls in pain. A loud groan from beside me catches my attention, and I turn to find Gray hurling away the same man I'd put down before, the one who had somehow managed to stumble to his feet and had been advancing on me, broken chair leg raised above his head. Gray throws him to the ground with ease, knocking him out cold. Then he steps back and claps his hands together, dusting himself off. A few meters away, Jed has another Riversider landing flat on his back in the dirt, while Sarah fights against another beside him. I gape at the three of them for a moment, so surprised at seeing them join the fight that I almost forgot everything that's going on around me. Are we doing this or what? Gray... He doesn't know the full truth, though, so yeah. Gray winks at me before jumping back into the fight. Adrenaline flows through me so thickly I don't have time to think. I have to block out everything else, focusing only on my rivals in front of me. They'll be sorry they ever came here. I'll make sure of that. Punching and kicking our way through the fold, at first it seems to make little difference against the numbers the Riverside have here tonight. As a unit, we carve a path through them faster and harder until their numbers begin to dwindle, the stragglers eventually beginning to run off with their tails between their legs. And it feels good to be doing this again. I glance over at Sarah, her eyes wild and her lips curved upwards, and I can tell she feels it too. Gray and Jed are the forces to be reckoned with, two unmovable walls of stone-cold fury fighting their way through the throng beside us. I can't take my eyes off Gray, marveling at the way his muscles stretch and contract, and the laughter that escapes him when he sends another opponent sprawling to the ground. "Valkyrie, look out!" Nikki shouts right as the wind is knocked out of me and I'm sent flying through the air. I barely have time to cry out as a brutish-looking man knocks me to the ground, catching me completely off guard. He must be at least twice my size, and his weight causes me to fall backwards, his shoulder colliding with my face as I land on the pavement, feeling my skin graze against the asphalt. A stream of warmth trickles from my nose, and when it reaches my lips tasting like metal on my tongue, I know I'm bleeding. In an instant, he's pulled off me, thrown aside by Gray, who descends upon him with bloody knuckles and a scowl sharp enough to kill. He's not laughing anymore, and I see now why people were so terrified of him back in high school. "Are you okay?" Sarah kneels beside me and touches a hand to my shoulder, her eyes wide with worry. I try to nod, but my face aches so fiercely that all I can manage is a wince of pain. While Gray is busy finishing off his opponents, I chance a glance around, finding the Riversiders are all either passed out in the street or have already run off, leaving the Academy gang behind to lick their wounds. Then, suddenly sirens blare in the background, sending everyone scattering into the night. A small part of me shudders at the sound. "We have to get out of here, now!" Sarah yells to the rest of us. Gray surges forwards and helps me to my feet before we sprint away from the scene. With my hand in his, we follow Sarah as she leads the way, our footsteps thundering over the pavement and the sirens giving way to the relentless pounding of my heart in my ears. We skid around a corner and then another until eventually, instead of concrete, my shoes are sinking into soft green grass. When we finally stop, catching our breath beneath the cover of dark trees, I realize where we are. We're in a park, the same park we were in the night that Gray was arrested all those years ago. I look at him now, the sweat dripping from his face. Once upon a time, I thought he was my biggest rival, and now it seems it's the complete opposite. Not a rival, but an ally, a friend, and maybe something more. "You're bleeding," he says after a moment, handing me a small tissue. "'Tis but a scratch," I say with a weak smile, taking the tissue from Gray's hands. He backs away and I wince as I press it to my nose, the pain now shining through as the adrenaline begins to wear off. Tilting my head back a little to stop the flow of blood, I feel the coppery tang of it sliding down my throat, making me grimace. "Lean your head forward instead of back," Gray instructs, taking a slow step towards me. I do as he says, quietly cursing when a gush of blood drips through my fingers. "Just let me help, I can't watch this any longer." Gray clicks his tongue at me, both annoyed and amused by the sight. "Fine," I say with a pout, letting him cup a hand around the back of my head and pinch my nose with the other. "Trust me, I'm no stranger to this kind of injury," he adds with a smirk. I say nothing, instead staring glumly off into the distance as I dread any of my customers coming into the store and seeing the results of tonight's fight on my face. "What am I going to do with you?" Gray says softly, staring down at me and sighing. "That was insane," Jed is saying in the background, letting out a small, disbelieving laugh. "Just like the old days," Nikki comments solemnly, his gaze on me and Gray. I can't tell what he's thinking exactly, but from the look in his eyes, I'd say he's starting to piece a few things together. My stomach flutters nervously when I think that he might not be the only one. "We should get somewhere safe," Gray says as soon as my bleeding nose is finally under control. "We don't know who might still be hanging around." He does a quick assessment of everyone's injuries, and it seems that despite the severity of the fight, we've all gotten off pretty lightly. My place is close by. Let's go there, I say, earning a collective nod from the others. Under the cover of darkness, we head off into the night. I invite everyone up into my home where we all slump down on the sofa and the floor, anywhere we can catch our breaths. What happens now? Sarah asks after we've had a few minutes to collect ourselves. Do you think the Riversiders will retaliate? Most likely, Nikki says grimly, grabbing a cushion from the sofa and hugging it against himself, though at least their numbers will have dwindled after tonight. He looks at Gray and Jed, each of them in turn, as though seeing the two men in a new light. I don't think many of them will be up to facing you lot again, he says. Nikki looks towards Gray again, his eyebrows dipping. I thought I'd seen you before, but I couldn't recall where. Now I remember, you're the Phantom. The one and only, Gray smirks, but the smile doesn't quite meet his eyes. His gaze meets mine and I look away quickly, purposefully avoiding it. I'm afraid of what I might find there if I look too long. He knows who I am, there's no doubt about it. The confusing part is, why doesn't he seem more surprised about it? I should get going, Nikki says as he pushes himself to his feet, setting the cushion aside. There's more to do before the night ends. I'll walk you out, I say quickly, joining him at the door. We descend the stairs together in silence, speaking only when we're sure we won't be overheard. Did you know that Gray was the Phantom this whole time? Nikki asks, his voice hushed. I nod softly, dragging my bottom lip between my teeth anxiously. And does he know who you are? He does now, I say glumly, my eyes trailing the floor. Hey, Nikki says with a small smile, and I look at him again. It's a strange situation, but the Capo haven't given us any trouble since back in school, and from what I've seen, Gray seems like a good guy. He is, it's just, I don't know what to do. This is all such a mess, I say weakly. You should do whatever makes you happy, he says kindly before his face falls. And I'm sorry for dragging you back into all of this, but I didn't feel like I had any other choice, he adds. It's okay, I didn't realize how bad things have gone, I admit, knowing that the truth is that I didn't want to know. Maybe Da Capo will be on our side now, huh? Nikki attempts a small smile. Maybe, I say, giving him a hug at the door. Stay safe out there, Nikki. You too. We'll talk soon, yeah? I nod, wishing him a good night and watching him disappear into the alley and turn onto the street. It's only then that I turn to the sound of footsteps on the stairs, seeing Jed and Sarah enter the hallway. We're going to take off too. I'm exhausted, Sarah says, stepping forward to pull me into a hug. You're welcome to stay here if you want, I mumble against her shoulder, knowing that a part of me is dreading what's coming and especially having to face it alone. Thanks for the offer, but I think there's a few things we need to talk about, Jed says, giving Sarah a meaningful look as she releases me. And it seems like you need to have a conversation of your own, Sarah adds, brushing past me with a grimace. I sigh in defeat, one that's way overdue. Time to hear Gray tell me how much he hates me. I very much doubt that, worrywart, Sarah teases softly, nodding her head towards the stairs. Talk to him. Jed glances towards the ceiling before turning and giving me a half smile. Good luck, he says, following Sarah through the door where they both disappear into the night. I lock the door behind them, taking a moment to steel my nerves and prepare myself for the conversation to come. Then, after taking a deep breath to steady myself, I head back upstairs. When I reach the living room, I find Gray standing with his back to me. I hesitate, unsure of how to start this conversation. It seems, however, that I don't have to. The Valkyrie. That's me, Gray says quietly, turning and fixing me with those sharp eyes of his. Now that it's just the two of us alone, I can feel a shift in the air. The decision of whether to tell him or not has been taken from me. Now it's time to deal with the fallout. The one and only, I confirm, meeting his gaze. You know, one would have thought your gang affiliation would have come up sooner, he says with a bite to his tone, considering how pertinent it is to my past. Were you ever going to tell me, or did your friends need to be in serious danger? I've wanted to so many times, I say defensively. I was about to, at the movies today. Gray scoffs, his anger shown by the flush of red crawling up his cheek. And yet I didn't hear any of the following. Gray, I just wanted to tell you that the old leader of the Academy gang, you know, the one that stood you up in the park the night you got arrested? Well, that was me. I didn't mean for you to get arrested, I cry out. I didn't, I echo. I told you I needed more time. What else was I supposed to do? I ask helplessly. Talk to me, Gray lashes out in frustration before reeling himself back in just as fast, the muscles in his jaw feathering as he pins me with a crushing stare. I would have listened. I watch him shakily, my tongue sitting uselessly in my mouth as a full range of emotions wash over him. He runs a hand over his face and sighs, and now I see just how exhausted he looks by all of this. I've known for a while now, Valkii. Yep. Knew it. He says softly, and I falter, my eyes going wide. You knew? I managed to gasp, my chest seizing uncomfortably. He nods, circling the sofa and taking a seat, leaning his arms on his legs. He sits forward, his gaze piercing. How long? I demand in a whisper. He hesitates, and a feeling of dread overcomes me. Since the day the box arrived from your parents. I saw the old photos of you and Sarah. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was waiting until you trusted me enough to confide in me. I throw my hands up in the air. You knew I wanted to. I didn't tell you I was keeping secrets because I was proud of it, Gray. I was really struggling, and to think you knew all this time. I wanted it to come from you. I was hoping you'd have enough faith in us, in me. I don't know what to say. I know I screwed up, unable to be upfront about this the entire time. I kept avoiding it for so long, way longer than I should have. I let fear get the best of me. Is that why you kept asking me if I trusted you? He nods, short and sharp. I admit I didn't trust you at first, I confess. My former rival, the Phantom, I remember your reputation. I was trying to get away from all of that. We're adults now, Valkii. Did you think I was gonna... What did you think was gonna happen? I don't know. I've had no idea what kind of person you grew up to be, not at first. I didn't want to tell you I was the reason you got kicked out of school, and then eventually my reasons for being reluctant to tell you morphed. I became terrified of losing you, I sigh. It didn't help that some things about you concern me, like how you and Ivan are friends. We're not friends, he cuts me off. Ivan is good for business, Gray says slowly, carefully. Yeah, because it's a gambling thing. I put it together right away when I heard about he's been banned from gambling establishments. Business? I draw the word out. At the look of guilt on Gray's face, something clicks. What is it you really do in the basement? I ask him. He takes a couple of steps towards me with his hands out in front of him, looking torn. Is that really important at the moment? He says flatly. Yeah, because you've been lying too, bitch. It's all connected, I say. I let you use that basement because I felt guilty for what I did, I admit. Guilty, but not enough to tell the truth, right? He rounds on me, his tone sharp. If I hadn't found out that day, I don't believe you would have ever told me that you were secretly my biggest rival in high school, he growls. That's not true, I protest. He stops and fixes me with a hard stare, his jaw clenching tight. I trusted you, despite knowing who you were. All I wanted was for you to be honest with me. Something about those words shatter me inside. He's right, completely right. Shame and anger wash over me, making my eyes well up, but this is no time to feel sorry for myself. I was wrong not to tell you. I'm ashamed of what I did, who I was, and I didn't mean for things to get this far. What a mess. I let out a heavy breath and lean back against the wall, unsure of how to feel. That is it, I agree. How to get out of this mess, how to even begin to mend this relationship. Let's start being honest, Gray, I say. When he looks up, I fix him with a firm stare. He knows the truth about me, and now it's time I learn the truth about him, the whole truth. I need to know what you're doing in my basement, I state. His jaw clenches tight, but after a few moments he relents with a nod of his head. Fine, let me show you. Dun, 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 dun. Alright, we're gonna have to find out next time, because I've been doing this for way too long and I'm gonna die. Alright. Okay. At least he knows now. That was the part I really wanted to get to. More than anything. I wanted to get to that part because I was gonna be annoyed if we didn't get to that part. So he knows now. Good. And we're gonna find out that he is doing a gambling ring in the basement. And I don't know if we're gonna be okay with that. I honestly don't know. I hope not. Because he's been lying too. Like, oh, it kind of pisses me off that he's like getting on our ass about lying when he's been lying too. And he would never have come clean. Because he was lying right from the get-go. Like when he didn't know who we were. When he was just like, huh, she looks kind of familiar. Eh, whatever. Like, they're all in the fucking wrong and they're all selfish. This route is crazy. I want to play more, like, honestly, I do. But I've been doing this a really long time. Like, probably like 6 hours? 7 hours? I don't actually know. Let me check. I can check. Yeah, almost 7 hours. So that's crazy. That's actually crazy. And that's a long time to be fucking talking. And that's with, like, a minor break in the middle to like eat something and to just rest for like a second, because right in the beginning I was getting really tired from talking really easily. So yeah, anyway, boring. I'm being boring. Okay, so yeah, I will probably finish this next time because we are... Oh, I'm not on the game. Why do I keep doing this? We are quite far in. We did all of these, and we just got these. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to go. 11 left. And that is probably with squishing 2 into each other like I have been doing. Because they're not as long as James's fucking route. Like, holy crap. James's route was long. But yeah. Cool. I am enjoying this route for what it is. I just hate it when like the BDSM stuff comes up. And that's just my opinion. I don't look down on anybody who likes that kind of dynamic. Like it's whatever you like. I'm not like whatever. It's just extremely not for me. You know, it's extremely not for me. I wouldn't say I'm like vanilla or whatever, but I like to be on the other end. So like, oh my god, I'm not gonna get into this. What am I doing? I'm tired. Okay, I'm tired and I'm talking crazy. Alright, I will see you next time in the next one. Bye.